Data Voyagers.
Hello, Data Voyagers. This is the third episode of Data Voyagers podcast, navigating the stories behind numbers. And for our third episode, we will talk about AI, the fast and the curious. That's the title we thought about it. Another pop culture reference right there. And so I'm straight from Georgia, United States. I am Igor Alcantara. Oi, pessoal. And from the other side of the ocean,
From the Netherlands, Angelika. Hoi allemaal.
all right. So we have a pretty good episode for you guys today. But before we start, just make sure you subscribe to our episode. It helps a lot in our statistics. It helps spread the podcast a lot. So make sure you subscribe. How do I do it? Well, pick whatever app for podcasts that you like or music, like Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, any app like Overcast, etc. Just go there, look for Data Voyages podcast, subscribe to it. It's free. Also, make sure to follow our LinkedIn page. So go to LinkedIn and you search for Data Voyages. You find our logo, you find our page. So then you know what we are working on, what we are releasing. And once you are in the app, your podcast app, just make sure give us 5 stars. It helps to give or recommend our podcast to more people. So we have a pretty good episode prepared for you today. We'll talk about artificial intelligence, like not only what it is, but what it came from, what history is. It's a much older history than a lot of people think. Like the scopes of AI. What is AI today? What is the future of AI? How can you, as a person in your company as well as an entity, be ready for AI? And much more. And we have, as always, our data story segment. And for this episode, we bring in a study about AI. Look at that. But AI that's been used to detect bacterial resistance. So AI in healthcare and research, pretty good. But before we begin, just a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by IPC Global. Do you know how your organization measures up in today's fast paced data world? Head over to ipc-global.com and take a quick data assessment and uncover where you're excelling and where you can improve, from leadership to analytics performance. Check it out and start driving better outcomes today. If you wanted to get further insights, reach out to IPC Global in the business inquiry form. And to learn more, visit ipc-global.com. All right, Angelica. So let's start with the definition. As you know, educators, we always thought like that. If you want to talk about something, let's understand what is that something. So, what is AI? And it's not spoiler. Is not my initials. It's not Alcantara Igor.
Well, that's a good one, Igor. Well, thanks again for today. I really look forward to do this third episode with you. If artificial intelligence is when machines are designed to perform tasks that normally requires human intelligence. It's that simple. And when you look at it and when you look at the various options that you can reach, it's about learning from data, it's about solving problems, it's about understanding language, recognizing patterns, making decisions, automate processes in an intelligent way, and so on. There are many, many options. But there is one thing that is very important. AI isn't a single technology. It's usually a collection of techniques working together to create the illusion of intelligence. And what we need to remember is that AI does not think like a human. AI finds patterns in data and use them to predict, recommend, or automate actions. And we have to remember that the output of AI will be as good as the input is for AI. So therefore, data quality and reporting and preparing your data in this AI era is super important nowadays. And I know it's not new, but that's your section, Igor. So please tell us something about the history of AI.
Yeah, so the history of AI start with the history of the 20th century. It's very pretty much aligned, which just like a lot of technology history as well. So we consider the birth of AI, the real birth of AI, because there were some like concepts thought about it, but not very serious, more like on the sci-fi area. But when we actually started doing something more theoretical in this area of AI was in the 1950s. And it started with the British mathematician, computer scientist Alan Turing. So he published the paper Computing, Machinery, and Intelligence. And it's where he posted the famous Turing test. So basically, I'm not going to details what is how the Turing test is performed, but the Turing test is basically is a way that we can evaluate if a computer is an artificial intelligence can mimic human intelligence. There's a lot of misconception here. People think that it evaluates if a machine is intelligent. No, it evaluates if it can mimic, it pretend to have human intelligence, which is different. That's why the imitation game is the name of the movie that talks about Alan Turing.
A
So,
great
by the
movie,
way,
by the way. A great
great
movie, by
movie,
the way.
great
Yeah.
movie, great acting. Yeah. Um, and but that was like theoretical. Like, if sometimes if one day you have like advanced AI, this one test we can do it to test it if you can, perform as a human. Which is interesting if you think about it. We are in the Cold War, espionage and all of that area. So it kind of made sense. And by the way, the Turing test it's is not something we consider anymore. And later on, I'll talk more about this. It's something now. It's something really in the past. We passed that frontier already. Now, still in the 1950s, what a lot of people consider the actual birth of AI is an event that happened in New England, 1956. Is when the artificial intelligence term was officially coined, because before it was like computer intelligence, machine intelligence, but the artificial intelligence term, um, it was brought to life, let's say, in 1956 by John McCartney. So there was a very important event in the history of AI. It's the Dartmouth Summer Research Project. So basically, they put a bunch of like very talented scientists together in a kind of conference that to discuss how can we do this. And the first task was to translate messages from Russian to English. Again, Cold War, and it was all of the espionage efforts. So translating messages from Russian to English in a way that was faster, and we can replicate it instead of like years of training people how to speak Russian. It was kind of the goal. There was a lot of optimism that people said, oh, in a few years we have like computers that are as smart as humans, because they did some really cool progresses. But then nothing really happened for quite some time after that. There was a few interesting advancements, but not as close as they thought, and it was a field, very expensive field until today. It is still to research, and a lot of researchers, like in physics, it happened for some time with the string theory. It's big promises. Nobody found anything other than mathematical models, and then a lot of people started like doing other researches. The interest reduced. Similar thing happened. So in the 1970s, 1980s is what we call the AI winter. Winter, it got cold. People realized, well, maybe the expectations were too high. Researchers were not getting funds for their research. So without money, you don't do science. That's the cold truth. And there were a lot of problems, like computers were slow. A lot of the advancements we have in AI is because computers are faster and cheaper. Memory was very expensive. Not as of today, like it's pretty cheap, but it was very expensive. The data available was minimal because we just started. We were starting to register, like a few decades before, register data in computers in digital form. If you don't know more, listen to our last episode number 2 about data. And so there was no like real problems AI could solve. So basically, things dried out. So for like 2 decades or 2 decades and a half, basically, and then IBM once again, and we're talking about the 1990s, end of 1990s, 1997. I was already in college, so there was like it was like from when I was born to when I was already in college. So that was how much time passed. Then there was small researches happening. By the way, it's not like it didn't stop 100%, but it was like the height was over. But then in 1990s, IBM, I'm sure Angelika remember that because it was all over the news. IBM developed a Deep Blue. It was basically a
Yep.
machine that could use some rudimentary type of AI, and it could play chess. Not only play chess, it could play chess really well. It won, I think, 1 or 2 matches against the world champion back then, the Garry Kasparov, like the Russian. I think he's Russian,
Yeah.
definitely former Soviet. Anyway, and I'm not sure if he's Russian or Ukrainian, but or Georgian, probably Russian. But it's not learning, it's not AI as we think about it, but it's smarter. It could mimic some intelligence. It was kind of brute force. It was kind of expert. It was trying different possibilities and deciding which one was the best one. Then everybody was talking about AI again. I remember I was writing, programming a lot of stuff for as a hobby, and there was like this little kits and books and things about how to program things like that, advanced things like that. And a lot of things happened, but we still have the problem of memory was less expensive, but still expensive. Computers were faster, but still slow to the needs that we have currently. But things were advancing, and the more researches on neural networks, like the Perceptron was the first module of neural network would develop, and we might have later, I mean, in the future, an episode about more deep knowledge in what is a perceptron, what is a neural network. That's actually what I studied in my master's, like the neural network. But just to keep short to the history, then we got to this century. More researches were done, and a lot of research on text to speech, speech to text, like listening, getting recordings from like meetings and converting that to text and vice versa. But it was it sounded like a computer. It sounded like a machine. It didn't have the same a way that like humans speak until something happened. So first, all of the environment of research and computers were currently advancing to where we are now. So we were having access to more and more data thanks to the internet, thanks to not new technology. So big data was now a reality, and with more data, AI then can be trained. Cloud computing was not just a dream; it started actually to be used. Thanks, people say to Amazon. Well, thanks mostly also not mostly, but a lot to Netflix, because the demand of Netflix forces AWS, Amazon to develop new technology to expand. So then we have cloud computing, and which allow us to have like scale the computer capacity, which a much lower cost. And then we have better graphic interface, because the most of like advanced AI, they don't run in your regular CPU. They run in your graphics machine. They're same use for playing, because they're like perfect for AI. They're more advanced because they work with more advanced problems like imaging processing. And then there was some breakthroughs that happened in the last decade. One is um, the uh, the advancements of deep learning, which is basically a neural network with a lot of more layers, like we call hidden layers. So things like convolutional neural network, which is what I used to work with imaging processing or other things before. Now, I mean that we have kind of other options. So more like the better technology, more advanced computing power allow people to do more advanced algorithms because now the computers could support. Because it was kind of useless to do the same years back because okay, I have this crazy idea, this crazy mathematical formula, but no computer can run it. Now they
Mm.
could. Then the real breakthrough happened in 2017. In 2017, a paper published by people from Google researchers with the in combination with the University of Toronto, um, they published a paper. It's called All You Need Is Attention. I think that's the name. That basically brought the concept of a transformer, which is the T of GPT, ChatGPT, is from transformer, which is a whole new way to accomplish this task. So that's the birth, theoretically, not now. Then once we have the theory, then we need to develop the applications, the tools. But then it was the foundation of what we have, like Gen AI and all of those advanced applications
Yeah.
of this kind of AI. And by the way, I'm not going over much to that paper, but if you go to our blog data, or also we have two versions of that, or also to our YouTube channel, Data Voyagers, you can find everything at datavoyagers.net. Go there, and I wrote an article explaining in very simple words this paper. And so you understand, like you go and get ChatGPT, open the black box, and understand how things works inside. And also there's a video version of that. So I have a text version, and I have a video. The video it's simpler, and then I have the text where I go a little bit deeper. But don't worry, I don't go crazy on math formulas. I wrote it for everybody to understand.
Was
Um,
that the moment, Igor? Was that the moment that Google TensorFlow was also launched around that area? Because I remember in 2018, 2019, we did a project at one of my employer's office where we used Google TensorFlow for image recognition and
yes,
augmented reality.
yeah, yeah. I remember. I don't remember exactly the year, but it was after that and before COVID. It was something
Yeah,
18,
yeah.
19, something on that. But yes, yes. So it was a big breakthrough. So uh, like OpenAI existed before. With that, OpenAI said, "Whoa, great! Now let's use this discovery and let's shift our research." So it started with Google, but it was like it as a lot of scientific knowledge is open to the public. So other companies started using that and implementing. There was a challenge. The way the algorithms were designed initially, it requires a lot of computing power. So you kind of have to have the money to have the computers to run this. I remember for a project when I back to my master's that I was running, basically it was a very stupid project. It was just for fun. I was making like my computer, like this artificial neural network, learn from Van Gogh paintings, and then I'll provide a picture and we'll redraw the picture in the same style as Van Gogh style. And by the way, how you say his name in Dutch? Because I always debate with Americans how to rightly pronounce it. What is
Van
the right
Gogh.
pronunciation?
Van Gogh.
Okay, so everybody's wrong. You're right. Yeah, because he's Dutch, so you know better than everybody. So the great painter, uh, but to run the to train the algorithm, I remember, and I have a pretty good computer at the university, and I think it was like the whole weekend. It was a simple one. Um, so with all of these things combined, plus this paper, then it became much simpler to develop these kind of things. And then other companies started develop their own solutions. And we have like Dolly, Midjourney, the ChatGPT, Sora, Copilot, Claude, Gemini. You have all of these things, and then you have Click Answers, which runs on top of Claude, which is like amazing. So basically, um, that's history of AI. So it started way back in the 1950s, but then that's where we are right now. And there are many types, right, Angelica?
Yeah, there are many, many, many types, and it's unbelievable what we can achieve with AI in his various types. Excuse me. Um, machine learning is consists of multiple things that you can do, right? It can go from predictions to segmentations to anomaly detections. I remember a story that I used my credit card somewhere online to book a ticket, and my bank suddenly, after a year or so, canceled my credit card. Gave me a notification, of course, by letter that they had stopped my credit card because somebody from a Eastern Europe country tried to book a ticket through my credit card. So that's something strange, and that's why they blocked my credit card. But also, you can automate tasks with it and analyze even further, quicker documents and data with machine learning. And I think also that generative AI is a type of machine learning as well. Um, and from there, we can go to deep learning, and we can do amazing things. My colleagues at the Business Data Challenges, they use various techniques in deep learning to recognize pictures or to do with a sparsing technique, filling up images which has gaps and so on. But also computer vision is used, right? Look at the automated warehouses we have nowadays. And and natural language processing, I believe that is also very, very powerful. Like in Click, we can simply ask a question and we can get an answer. How much sales did we have last month? And it will give an answer back just by talking or saying a question or writing down a question. And generative AI is, of course, booming. And then we have the differences, I believe, with generative AI and RAG models, like Click Answers uses RAG. I even have set up now a complete library with various topics that my students can research in my Click Answers tenant. So yeah, I'm truly happy with the new technology because it makes the life very easy. But we have to be sure and to understand that today's AI, what we use nowadays, is narrow AI. AI that we build is simply built for one task. Yeah. The dream, of course, to be big and maybe even let machines think like humans. So the artificial general intelligence, AGI, as we say, that's the dream of machines, that they can do anything like a human can. But it's still science fiction. It's still conceptual. Um, and I hope that we will always be critical in the things that happens with AI. So the human needs to be always in the loop. What do you think, Igor, when we look at the future?
I 100% agree. There's a lot of discussion. There was one topic that I don't want to discuss here because I think that topic deserves one episode only about that, which is the problem of alignment, where AI will align, which includes the what you said, which is I agree on 100%. Is the humans need to be in the loop.
Yeah.
But just a little think what is working, especially in Europe. Europe, it's better than the US in thinking about long-term use of technology, not only AI and regulating what's happening, but also in some universities, some organizations in the US and other parts of the world. What's happening is when you are developing AI or using AI, you have to have people from different areas participating, debating that, and a lot of companies are actually hiring philosophers, people from law, people that from the humanities, that then will discuss like the human impact or the implication of that. Because if
Yeah.
you just lead to the hands of data scientists like myself, we're gonna have like the Skynet. It's not gonna be good. It's not good
Yeah.
because oh, can I? And it's not because we are evil. I like to believe I'm not evil. I like, especially because well, we use a lot of AI. We do a lot of AI here in our department for healthcare and all of that. So kind of helping people, etc. But still, sometimes you don't understand the consequences of what you're doing because you're so hyper focused on that task. Let me accomplish this little task here and then that little task, but you need someone with a vision to see the big picture. What's the implication to the society, to the customer, etc. So it is important to have this multidisciplinary group of people discussing
Absolutely.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you said about
200%.
AGI. It is sci-fi. We do not achieve that. We do not achieve yet what we call the singularity, is when the AI suppresses human intelligence. We do not achieve that. But you know that OpenAI was created to develop AGI.
Yeah.
And they were created to develop that. That's the purpose of the foundation OpenAI. And I think it was too optimistic. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, said they are expecting to achieve AGI by the end of this year. I don't believe so, but I might be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. I think we need more time to discuss it, but I'm wrong, but we'll see. We'll see. So
No.
maybe if that happens, then we'll have to do another episode to discuss what are the
Well,
consequences
I
of this.
think it's I can't believe it. I believe it's a dream, right? And
Yeah.
it's still conceptual. And I know the world is changing fast and rapidly, even with the Open AI's platform and the things that they do. But it brings a worry to my mind when we move over to AGI,
Mhm.
because
Yeah. It's a
it
Pandora
needs
box.
to
Like
be
we're
regulated
opening the Pandora
worldwide.
box.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it needs to be regulated worldwide, because if AI takes over the human intelligence and makes decisions, well, it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah,
It's a
and
whole new
that
ball
comes
game.
with and that brings us to the problem of alignment, which again we're not going to discuss much here because that we need like more time,
Yeah,
and we don't want this episode to
research.
be like
Yeah,
to do like 1 hour. In my podcast in Portuguese, we actually recorded like 2 episodes, 1 hour and a half each, but then we went really deep into the problem of alignment. But just a little thought on that. Uh, One of the problems of a very we call it, some people call it super intelligent AI, is that if you reach that, it's almost impossible to regulate. If you don't do something prior to that development, it's really difficult to regulate. And the reason is, how can you put limits to an intelligence that's superior to your intelligence? And it's superior from the beginning, and then it gets smarter and smarter as it grows. I mean, AI is the topic that I studied the most. It's kind of my specialty. So let me know if I'm talking too much about it. But just a metaphor that I use is like, so you get like the most intelligent, I don't know, 2 years old kid, and then that kid has a mission, wants to stop let's say you from like reaching this area in the bed in the room, and the kid thinks, oh, I'm gonna put all of these pillows and I create this wall, and you just run through it or you just go above it. But for you to solve a limitation, a barrier designed by a 2 years old is very simple. So if AI achieves that super intelligence level, we'll be like 2 years old to this superintelligence. So it will respect us if it is aligned to its purpose. So the
Yeah.
purpose of the superintelligence AI, and even the current state of AI, is something that it needs to be debatable. So
But it's used already. AI is used in various ways that people don't even think of, right, Igor?
exactly. So today, for example, what is the state of
Yeah.
AI? So we're not there yet, as you said, but today we have like recommendation systems is a very common popular use of AI, like Netflix, Amazon. How do they know what to recommend you? In the past, we had just basic statistics. Oh, let's get all the people with the same or similar gender, age group, uh, location, etc., and let's recommend them the same thing. That's what TV used to do. They have like the so in the mornings we do this kind of program, and then in the afternoons we do this kind of program, evening, and they all channels they did the same, like late now talk shows. Every channel had one running based on the same time, everything the same style, because it was based on that. Now, because we know better, because we know, like a 40-year-old in Delhi might like the same things as a teenager in Wisconsin. So we don't know. So then it's based on the data. It's used to predict the data. That's the like one of the concepts of AI. We also have voices assistants like Siri, Alexa, and all of those. Alexa actually it will become much smarter in the near future because Amazon bought Claude, and the idea it's to combine them. And by the way, we are at this year Click Connect at IPC Global booth. We are showing how we integrated Alexa to Click, so you can ask Alexa questions about your dashboards and respect section. Alexa respects all of the security in Click, and it shows graphs in there and talks to you about your data. Very pretty cool. Spam filters.
I have to visit the booth then. I have to visit the booth.
Oh yes. Spam filters, fraud detection, predictive analysis, like AutoMail is predictive analytics. We have a very popular application of AI, which is like Gen AI, like AI that generate content, like ChatGPT, Dolly, Midjourney, all of those. And so today, AI is a tool. So we build to automate things, accelerate things, enhance human tasks. Like I use a lot of AI for grammar correction when I'm writing my articles. You say, "Oh, your grammar improved so much," because I use it's not our sponsor, but it could be Grammarly. They have an AI component in the paid version, so you fix your grammar, and it's pretty good. It finds like, oh, you use this word too much, and then you can go and do all of that. But then that's what we have today. But tomorrow, what we have is like AI being used as a co-pilot. We do have that already, but the idea is to improve that in more areas. And when I say short term, it's like in a few months that's going to be more and more common to use. For now, like more like programmers and like more tech savvy people are using, but the idea is like lawyers and other people will have these tools spread to them. It will be more popular. A lot of a lot of tasks that are repetitive tasks. Filling out my T&E every week with let's automate that using AI, or scheduling meetings, scheduling doctor appointments, and rescheduling based on your whatever's
On your
happening to your
agenda, for
life.
example. Yeah.
Yeah. So these things are like tomorrow. There's like short term, midterm, because it requires a little bit more investment, more development. We have like industry specific AI modules, like more advanced AI that will be like an AI doctor that we can actually rely on.
Yep.
But for things like that, you need what we call responsible AI. You need to involve like ethics, transparency, privacy, because things like education, what is the
Yeah.
consequence of teaching the wrong thing, or treating the patient with the wrong treatment, or making the bad decisions about like selling, buying products and the kind of stuff, or or inventory management, that kind of stuff. So, of course, there's a lot of work to be done in that. We need transparency, because if something happens, how can we track back the cause of the problem and who you're going to sue, who's going to be responsible? Like, if a self-driving car kills someone, who's responsible? The software company, the owner of the car, the dealer, the manufacturer
Yeah.
of the car. Who's responsible? Nobody. Um, so all of those, it's part of what we call responsible AI. And then we have long term. And long term, all of the predictions have in common, they all wrong. We don't know. We don't know when we actually gonna have a GI, or AI integrated with almost everything that we do. We call this ambient computing, which could be another episode in the future. And so those things that AI is way more integrated to our lives, like we've seen a lot of sci-fi movies. That is long term. When
Yeah.
again, all predictions are wrong. And you know why? Because we don't know when the next breakthrough will happen, because we might think, oh, that's 20 years. But then maybe next year, a new breakthrough comes up. Someone finds something, and then it's a huge shortcut, like
Yeah.
the paper in 2017 about attention. Before the paper is published, every prediction was like, well, the artificial intelligence, we can actually have conversations just like we have currently, or they can pass a Turing test. Oh, that's going to take 10, 20 years. And then it was like the next year, 2 years after that, because there was a breakthrough. So we cannot predict the next breakthrough. So we cannot predict when this will be developed. And the
Yeah.
future, or the optimistic future, AI is going to be part of our life.
They.
That we can say for sure, if we don't
Yeah.
destroy ourselves before that. It
Yeah.
will be.
Absolutely.
And now, how it will be. So ideally, AI is not replacing human intelligence. Ideally, we're talking about augmented intelligence. It's the hybrid. We humans using AI to do certain things. Would that work? Depends on so many factors that we can discuss.
Yeah.
Now, AI is here, and what will be AI will be here for a long time. How can we be ready?
Well, we have to do some things for that, right, Igor? I was reading this interesting article by Bernard Marr. You remember that I sent you the link, and
Yes, yes.
mm,
You find the
that's
link in the post of this episode. So go to
yeah,
the episode, you'll find the link there.
yeah, great. So what was written down is that 34 million AI generated image on a daily basis. That is what research found. They found that 71% of the social media messages is created by AI, or Gen AI in this case. But an interesting fact at the bottom of the article is that the adoption gap is still here, right? 80% of workers still are not using AI tools. That's a big gap that we still have to solve. And I truly believe that we can help people to understand what data is, what AI is, and how they become literate in various ways. Um, I think when we break it down for companies, I think companies should invest in data quality, in data management. AI is only as good as the data behind it. Period. We need to work on that. So, in every level of the organization, although you are a employee that enters data, for example, in a sales system, you need to understand that data quality is of the utmost importance, because if we don't do it well there, we will have bad solutions and bad decisions at the end. So it's a chain of actions that we need to take care of. So data quality is needed. Um, I think also that it's a very good idea to think of processes for automation, like RPA that you can do in financial report processes, for example, or automations in web shops, in e-commerce. Um, I believe that value the ROI will be quickly won if you are able to do so and make a good plan about it. Uh, start small. Start small and pilot AI in not critical, no critical areas. For examples, for example, do not use people's data, but use open data to do something with AI and make predictions, make something like that you can prescribe or other things, but just use it in a lab construction in a safe way
Yeah,
and
we call
build
it the
in your
low hanging
teams.
fruit. Like take a problem that is simpler to implement, but shows the concept to start at first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
from there go.
yeah, go from
And
there.
I
Yeah,
think the fun fact is that I work in several organizations and they all have AI labs to try things out, chatbots, and so on, and it works. So start small and scale fast in this case. Um, on a human side, we need to build in data and AI literacy. We need to build it in the teams, in the people to understand. And we need to understand what it can bring, how we can work with data, but also how we can use it in our AI world. Because truly believe that critical thinking is is super important. It's one of the most important skills that we need to develop from primary school on. Um, for organizations, we also need to focus on responsible AI. We need to have that transparency. We need to have that fairness, that ethical way and integrity in our AI projects. Um, I'm super happy that we have the AI Act here in Europe. Uh, I hope it will also there will also be some kind of AI Act in other countries besides than Europe. Um, but also we have to focus on the multidisciplinary teams, as you stated before. We need those multidisciplinary teams uh, to have multiple views on the solutions that we build. When we look at individuals, data quality is a training that everybody should do and understand that it has problems in the end. Um, but also learn how AI works, learn how Gen AI works, use the tools that are there for you. But be aware that organizations have to prepare guidelines how to use it, right? As an example, I used to work in an organization, or I'm still working in an organization that has the same thing. We need to prepare guidelines. People usually go into use generative AI based on their personal Google email, for example, with ChatGPT. And then they start answering questions from the business that the organization that they work on via their personal email, which is not feasible, right? That's not correct. So when you work for an organization, create another email, use your business email to make an account in ChatGPT and keep track of the things that you ask, so you can build up things when something goes wrong by accident, because that can happen. Um, I also hope that people will be curious in the new things that are coming in our path, because it's going that rapidly. Uh, but then also we need to think of not only of the hard skills, how to use it in tools like ClickSense with automations and predictions or click answers, but also develop the soft side of our business, like critical thinking, like questioning, like creativity, how to build a dashboard, have that empathy in your skill set to work with things, right, and communicate and work together. And of course, from my perspective, we need to speak the same language within an organization to understand each other. And that's very important in our data world. Stay informed, right? Because AI is skyrocketing, and I believe and I know that Igor will agree with me, the curious will thrive, right?
yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And about we'll talk about individuals in a minute, but just one little thing that I want to emphasize here for organization is that you have to have an AI strategy in place or need to be discussing an AI strategy. Even if you're not ready to AI, even if your decision is we're not using AI, that's your strategy, fine. But you need to have an AI strategy, which includes how we protect our data. Because you might you might say we're not using AI, we're not like implementing things like click answers or something. We don't believe in that. We wait a little bit more. Your employees are already using. What is your policy of our employees taking your private documents and putting in ChatGPT, and you have no control of that? So you need to have a strategy, and you might not be AI ready. Most of AI projects fail because people try to implement it too early, or the wrong first project. Like your data needs to have a. Angelika says it all. You need data quality. If your data is bad, your AI will be bad. And you need to have at a certain level of maturity in your data journey within the organization that then you're ready to do AI. If you're still doing things, oh, I have this Excel file that does that, and I have this that does another thing, it's all over the place, nothing talks to one another, is not integrated, you're not ready. But then your strategy is okay, let's get to a more mature level, which will help the whole organization even before implementing AI. So thinking about what is your AI strategy, I think it's right now it's a must for organizations. Fortunately or unfortunately, but if you're not doing your competition are doing, or your employees are doing like rogue on their own without any oversight.
I believe you have read a beautiful data story again, right? And it's something
Yes,
about
yes.
bacterial and then predictions and so on. So I'm very curious and I want to hear the story, Igor.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have data story today, and we bring always like a science paper, and this one is about AI. I think I thought, well, it has to be about AI because we're talking about AI. And there's so many. So let's end up with some like good news. So it's a paper that was published in Nature, um, and it's called the generic compatibility and ecological connectivity drive the dissemination of antibiotic resistant genes. So it's a new study from the Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden. It shows how AI is being used to predict the spread of antibiotic resistance in bacteria. And by the way, this is one of the greatest threats to global health. If bacteria are resistant to antibiotics, then we're kind of hopeless to fight those infections. So the researchers, they train AI models on generic data from nearly a million bacteria. It's a very good sample. And the idea was to understand how resistant genes are exchanged, particularly in environments like wastewater, treatment plants, and the human body. So what they found revealed that antibiotic resistance is more likely to spread between bacteria that are genetically similar, as it requires less energy for them to absorb and use the new genes. So basically, they combine. If they're more similar genetic, they can combine their genetic material, and then the resistance is spread. And that actually explains how sometimes we have like harmless bacteria living in our bodies or living in the environment, and they can pass resistance genes to dangerous bacteria, which is like which is a huge problem. And the idea for the researchers is that one day this technology can help healthcare professionals to quickly identify bacteria at risk of becoming antibiotic resistant. And then they'll improve diagnostic and prevention on infections. So that's a pretty good paper. It talks about a lot of other things. But as always, in the post of this episode, we'll leave the link in case people want to read the full paper, which is something I do like to do, like reading science paper and all that kind of stuff, and be more aware of what's going on in science in general, which is my, before we go to announcement, my final recommendations for individuals. Um, don't use AI to become dumber. Don't make yourself replaceable by replacing your work to AI, by becoming too dependent on the AI. So let me give you an example. I love writing. I like writing, either fiction, which I don't do. I do once in a while, just for friends and stuff. But now I mostly write like articles, especially for data voyages, and I really like it. Really enjoy it. I really like it to take very complex problems, structuring in using storytelling, using a lot of metaphors, and writing that in a way people can understand. Love it. And people ask me, so are you using ChatGPT to do that kind of work? And say, well, I'm using to create the images, to illustrate, fix my grammar, but I'm not using to write it, because then that's a pleasure that I have. So why would be stupid? Why I'll take something that I like and ask the AI to do it for me, and then use my time doing things that I don't like as much? It doesn't make
And
any
don't
sense.
learn,
Yeah,
because we have to learn. We have to keep on
exactly.
triggering our minds. Yeah.
So um, don't ask ChatGPT or whatever AI, Gen AI they're using. Don't ask them to do things for you. You can ask for advices a lot. I use ChatGPT a lot for challenging ideas that I have. Well, I have this idea. Would that work? And then I have this project in ChatGPT that I use often, and I say, okay, I have this idea. Tell me all the ways this could go wrong. Challenge me. Try to convince me this is not a good idea. And then I started arguing, and then that makes my idea stronger. I use like that. Uh, um, but don't replace the things that you like. Otherwise, AI will be doing art, and it will be doing like the hard labor, which is the opposite what we hope.
Yeah.
So that's my final. Use it to be smarter. Don't use it to do
Yeah.
the work for you, but use it to make your work more meaningful. So
Yeah. What I always say, when we learn data and AI literacy, it helps us to do good things to better things, right?
yeah,
And that is how it can help us. I think we are at the end of our episode, and we have some announcements, right?
yeah. So I think we have a pretty good one. So we always talking about Click Connect. We in the now weeks before Click Connect.
Yeah.
And so again, always inviting people to join Click Connect. We're both going to Click Connect. So find us at Click Connect. And pretty big news. So at Click Connect, when you are in the expo floor, there was one area, it's called the broadcast zone, where broadcasting happens. And it's only prestige like podcasts or media, gets a spot there. And you were very, very privileged to get a 1 hour there to record a live episode of Data Voyager. So you actually, we even better, we're closing the event before the party
Yeah.
at Disney.
Yeah.
So Thursday, May 15 at 4 o'clock at the broadcast zone. Just go there, show your support. Angelika and I, plus few guests, will be discussing in the topic. It's going to be fun. The topic is the future, back to the future of analytics. So there is
Grace.
yeah, there was a joke, a reference to Back to the Future. I might
Yeah.
or might not wear some costumes related to Back to the Future. We'll know. You guys can let us know if you like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
going to be a big thing. Angelica,
Yeah.
also, you have a panel to run as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, we will do so on Wednesday evening with the fabulous woman who click. We will be the only and solely breakout session in the big hall that we are in. And we are with some amazing girls, Laura Ashworth, Priscilla Paulinelli, Gwen Stamp, Stephanie Robinson, and some others, but also, and it will be moderated by Julianne. She is from Click. And yeah, it's the only session. So please come and listen to our stories as women that click.
Very
And
good.
you
Very
are,
good.
I think you are presenting at the Public Sector Summit, right?
Yes, I'm presenting, but that's there's After Click Connect. So in DC
Ah,
in
okay.
June, I presented to the public June 5th in DC, the Click Public Sector Summit. It will be around AI. We decided the specific topic, but before that, in May 1st, so a few days after this episode is released, if you are in Alabama, I'm part of a panel in Birmingham with Jason, a lot of great people at Click to discuss AI. So it's May 1st at Birmingham.
Yes.
I'll put the link in the post for where people can register. It's free, and there'll be foods and drinks. So we'll drink. We get really drunk after. So we have a discussion
Uh-oh.
sober or ish, and then we'll drink after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in May 2nd, I'm not part of that, but I will be attending.
Yeah.
At May 2nd, there is a webinar with our friends from IPC Global and Infinity.
Oh, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah,
Amazing solution. Yeah.
yeah. So, big fan of Infinity. So, Simon from Infinity, Jeff from IPC Global, they have a webinar May 2nd, and they're talking about planning using Click and Infinity. So also I'll leave the link here so you can all attend. And there are other things, but next episode we'll announce it. Otherwise, it
Yeah.
will be like too much announcements.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Angelika. Thank you, everyone. Again, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You have all details in our website, datavoyagers.net, our social media, everything is there. Give us 5-star, spread the word, convince other people to subscribe and listen to our podcast.
And thank you, IPC Global, for being our sponsor, right?
Yeah, oh yes, thank you very much, because it's not cheap to maintain this. It's all like the editor, Leo Oliveira, there's our server to record, to host, the website. There's some expenses, software licensing, to all of that, and then they sponsoring us, so pretty good. All right, so see everyone next time. Ciao, pessoal.
Yeah. Obrigado.
Very good.
Data